A very good morning, students. Welcome back to online session. In the previous class, we have seen the introduction of water chemistry and determination of hardness of water by using EDTA method. So today in this session, I am going to explain determination of alkalinity of water sample and also one of the purification technique, that is ion exchange method. So first let us see what is alkalinity of water sample and how to determine the alkalinity of water sample. So before that, maybe you heard about acid and the bases. You know about the acids and the bases. So other name of base is alkaline. Basicity is nothing but the alkalinity. But how you can find the basicity of the given solution? The basicity can be determining by titrating with the acid solution. So how we are finding the acidity? Acidity can be determined by titrating with the base solution. So acidity is determining by you titrating with the base, and basicity is finding by titrating with the acid. So acid is having the neutralizing capacity of base, and base also having the capacity of neutralizing acid. So now let us see what is alkalinity. Alkalinity of water is nothing but acid neutralizing capacity. It is basicity. So bases are neutralizing acids. So alkalinity is nothing but it is one of the property. It is defined as acid neutralizing capacity. Alkalinity of water is measure of acid neutralizing ability. So what is alkalinity? It is the measure of acid neutralizing ability. It is attributed due to the presence of castic alkalinity and temporary hardness. So here it is the alkalinity is due to the presence of three ions. One is OH minus, carbonate and bicarbonate. Here bicarbonate is HCO3 minus. So here OH minus, CO3 minus 2 and HCO3 minus. These three ions are causes alkalinity to the water sample. The ions, so OH minus ion, carbonate ion are present in the water sample. If these two ions are present in the water sample, that alkalinity is nothing but the caustic alkalinity. So here caustic alkalinity is nothing but the presence of OH minus and the carbonate ions. And temporary hardness, already we know what is temporary hardness, bicarbonates. So here alkalinity is due to caustic alkalinity and the temporary alkalinity. Caustic alkalinity is due to the presence of OH minus and the carbonate, and temporary alkalinity is due to the presence of bicarbonate. So these can be estimated separately by titrating against acid using phenolphthalein and methyl orange as indicators. So how we are finding? We can find caustic alkalinity by using phenolphthalein indicator and temporary hardness by using methyl orange indicator. So we can't find all three ions at a time by using phenolphthalein indicator. But whereas by using methyl orange indicator, we can find all three ions alkalinity. But our aim is to identify caustic alkalinity separately and temporary alkalinity separately. So to find caustic alkalinity and temporary alkalinity separately, we are titrating the solution, that means the water sample with acid, by using two indicators. One is the phenolphthalein indicator and the methyl orange indicator. So what is the use of methyl orange indicator? Methyl orange is using to find all three ions in the water sample, but phenolphthalein is using to find OH minus and the carbonate. So we know the water sample is titrating with the acid, but these three ions are causes alkalinity to the water sample. This alkaline water is titrating with the acid. So one ion is OH minus, carbonate and the bicarbonate. When OH minus is titrating with the acid, OH minus is undergo complete neutralization and producing the neutral compound, that is water. But when carbonate is titrating with acid, it is not undergo complete neutralization. If it is undergo complete neutralization, we can get the neutral compound, but instead of giving the neutral compound, it is giving the ion. If it is releasing ion means it is not undergo complete neutralization, it is undergo half neutralization. For full neutralization, it should react with two H plus ions because it is having the 2 minus. If 2 minus is reacting with 2 plus, then only we will get the neutral compound. But here, it is undergo half neutralization when the carbonate is titrating with the acid. So, we are getting the bicarbonate ion. This bicarbonate ion further titrating with the acid to produce water and the carbon dioxide. So, already I explained you now by using phenolphthalein indicator, caustic alkalinity is identifying. By using methyl orange indicator, all three ions are identifying. So, by using phenolphthalein, OH minus is undergo complete neutralization, but here carbonate is undergo half neutralization. So, we are getting the two types of endpoints here. One is the phenolphthalein endpoint and the methyl orange endpoint. Phenolphthalein endpoint is indicating complete neutralization of OH minus and half neutralization of carbonate. But methyl orange indicator is indicating complete neutralization of OH minus, complete neutralization of carbonate and complete neutralization of bicarbonate. That is phenolphthalein and methyl orange endpoints. So now let us see the procedure. The titration of the water sample against a standard acid by using phenolphthalein indicator endpoint marks the complete reactions of 1 and 2 and the amount of acid used thus corresponds to hydroxide plus 1/2 of the normal carbonate present. So that's what I said you now. Phenolphthalein endpoint is indicating OH minus complete neutralization plus half carbonate. So here 1 and 2. This amount of acid used thus corresponds to hydroxide plus 1/2 of the normal carbonate present. That means complete neutralization of hydroxide OH minus and 1/2, that means half of the carbonate. On the other hand, titration of the water sample against a standard acid by using methyl orange indicator endpoint marks the completion of 1, 2 and 3. Yes. So what phenolphthalein is indicating? Complete reaction of 1, half reaction of 2. But methyl orange endpoint is indicating completion of all three reactions. So hence the amount of acid used after the phenolphthalein endpoint corresponds to 1/2 of normal carbonate plus all the bicarbonate. So I said you now by using phenolphthalein, OH minus complete and half of the carbonate. That means remaining half carbonate is still present in the water sample. But by using methyl orange, this half carbonate reaction takes place and complete bicarbonate reaction also takes place. So that's what I said you now here. Hence the amount of acid used after the phenolphthalein endpoint. That means first you will get phenolphthalein endpoint. After phenolphthalein endpoint, what we are adding here? We are adding methyl orange to the same solution. So that methyl orange endpoint is indicating 1/2 of normal carbonate and all the bicarbonates. So while the total acid used corresponds to the total alkalinity. That means from initial reading to end reading is nothing but the total alkalinity. That is due to the presence of all three ions. That means OH minus, carbonate and bicarbonate. So the possible combination of ions causing alkalinity in water are OH minus only, carbonate only, bicarbonate only, OH minus carbonate together, carbonate, bicarbonate together. So here all three ions are not existing together here. Either any two ions or any one ion is existing in the water sample, because OH minus and bicarbonate, these two are reacting with each other. So the all three ions possibility is not there, because these two ions are reacting with each other and we are getting the byproduct. So the single ions are existing are the combination of OH minus carbonate, carbonate, bicarbonate are existing, but OH minus bicarbonate combination is not possible due to this additional reaction. So thus OH minus bicarbonate ions cannot existing together in the water sample. On the other basis of same reasoning, all the three ions also not existing together. Yes, so this two combination is not possible. All three ions combination also not possible in the water sample. So now let us see the experimental procedure. So what we are doing to find the alkalinity of water sample. So what do you understand till now? The alkalinity is determining by titrating with the acid. That means our water sample is titrating with the acid. So where we are taking the acid? Acid is taken in the burette. Acid is taken in the burette. Now our water sample is taken in the conical flask. But what ions are present in our water sample? Either OH minus, carbonate or bicarbonate, or OH minus carbonate, carbonate, bicarbonate ions are possible. So just let us assume our water sample is having carbonate and bicarbonate ions. But we know by using phenolphthalein indicator, we can identify half of the carbonate. We can't find full carbonate. What we are assuming? We are assuming that our water sample is having the carbonate and the bicarbonate. If we use methyl orange initially, what is the use of methyl orange? It is identifying all three ions completely. But if we use methyl orange, we can get total alkalinity, but we can't identify carbonate alkalinity separately, bicarbonate alkalinity separately. Our aim is to identify carbonate alkalinity separately, bicarbonate alkalinity separately. So we are having one possibility to use two indicators. One is phenolphthalein and the methyl orange. What is the use of phenolphthalein? Is it identifying complete carbonate? No. Phenolphthalein is identifying half of the carbonate. That means first by using phenolphthalein, we can identify the end point for half carbonate. For full carbonate, what we can do? We can multiply the end point with 2. Then we can get the carbonate end point. After identifying carbonate, we can use methyl orange. If we use methyl orange, what we can do? By using methyl orange, we can identify remaining half carbonate and the full bicarbonate. But our aim is to identifying only bicarbonate. So what we need to do? We need to subtract the carbonate to get the bicarbonate. Yes. So like that we are using two indicators to identifying carbonate and the bicarbonate. So initially in the burette we are filling hydrochloric acid. Pipette out 100 ml of water sample in a clean conical flask. Add 2 to 3 drops of phenolphthalein indicator to it. Now run the burette till the pink color is disappear. That means when you add phenolphthalein indicator to the water sample is turns to pink color. Now this pink color solution is titrating with the hydrochloric acid till the color changes to colorless. So when you get the colorless, that indicates phenolphthalein end point. Note down the phenolphthalein end point. After noting down the phenolphthalein end point, add the 2 to 3 drops of methyl orange indicator to the same solution. because in that solution still bicarbonate is pending and remaining half carbonate is pending. So to the same solution we are adding 2 to 3 drops of methyl orange. Now we are continuing the titration with the hydrochloric acid. Now we are getting the color from yellow to pink. So this pink color is indicating methyl orange endpoint. So methyl orange endpoint is indicating half neutralization of carbonate and complete neutralization of the bicarbonate. So by using this relationship, we can identify what ions are present in the water sample. So one possibility, P is equals to maybe 0, P is equals to half M, P is equals to M. If P is equals to 0, what is P is indicating? Phenolphthalein endpoint is indicating complete neutralization of OH minus and half neutralization of carbonate. Yes, if phenolphthalein endpoint is 0, OH minus is not present, carbonate also not present. That means only bicarbonate ions are causes alkalinity if P is equals to 0. If P is equals to half M, what P is indicating? OH minus plus half carbonate. But what methyl orange endpoint is indicating? OH minus completely, carbonate completely, bicarbonate completely. But what I am saying, phenolphthalein endpoint is equals to half of the methyl orange endpoint. So see at the LHS side and RHS side to identify which ions causes alkalinity. See here OH minus plus half carbonate is equals to half into OH minus plus half into carbonate plus half into bicarbonate. Left side we are having 1 OH minus, here we are having half OH minus. That means OH minus ions not present. Left side we are having half carbonate, right side also we are having half carbonate. That means carbonate ions are present. Left side we don't have bicarbonate, right side we are having bicarbonates. That means bicarbonates are not present. So whatever the ions present at LHS, the same ion should present at the RHS side to identify which ions causes alkalinity in such type of relationships. So here which ions are causes alkalinity? Carbonate ions are causes alkalinity. Now when P is equals to M, P is equals to M. What is P indicates? OH minus plus half carbonate. What M is indicating? OH minus plus carbonate plus bicarbonate. But what I said now? We need to consider LHS and RHS, those should be same. See here OH minus, OH minus. That means OH minus ions present. Here half, here full carbonate. That means carbonate is not present. Here there is no bicarbonate, but here bicarbonate is present. That means bicarbonate also not present. That means only OH minus causes alkalinity. So P is equals to 0 indicates bicarbonate alkalinity. P is equals to half M is indicating carbonate. P is equals to M indicates OH minus alkalinity. So the next topic is the purification technique, softening method. That means we are converting hard water to soft water. That is the softening method. So one of the water softening method is the ion exchange method. So in your syllabus, we are having the reverse osmosis method. But for the civil students, you people are having even geolite method also. So today I am going to explain ion exchange method. In the name only we have ion exchange method, means the method which exchanges all ions in the water sample. So here which ions should be exchanged in our process? All hardness causing ions. We need to remove all hardness causing ions in the water sample. Yes, we want to remove all the hardness causing ions in the water sample. But what are the hardness causing ions? Calcium plus 2, magnesium plus 2 and bicarbonates, chlorides, sulfates and the nitrates. That means we want to remove all the cations and all anions in the water sample by using ion exchange method. So now let us see the ion exchange method. removal of all ions present in the water is called demineralization process. What is ion exchange method or the demineralization process? Removal of all ions present in the water. That is called demineralization process. The demineralization of water is done by using ion exchange resins. So what we are using in ion exchange method? We are using ion exchange resins. Resins are nothing but the polymers. So now let us see what is the role of ion exchange resins and what chemicals we are using to prepare the ion exchange resins. Ion exchange resin. Ion exchange resins are insoluble, cross-linked, long chain organic polymers with a microporous structure. So how the ion exchange resins are? Ion exchange resins are insoluble in the water. That means these are not soluble in the water. And the structure of ion exchange resin is cross-linked. So it is one of the polymer. This polymer is having the cross-linking structure. And it is one of the long chain organic polymer with a microporous structure. That means it is having the small holes. The ion exchange property of these polymers is due to mainly the functional groups attached to them. So what is the main reason? The ion exchange property of these polymers is due to mainly the functional groups attached to them. So due to that functional groups only, it is able to exchange the cations and anions in the water sample. So these functional groups may be acidic or basic. So based on the functional groups, the resins may be classified as cation exchange resins and the anion exchange resins. I said you now, the functional groups, due to the functional groups only, the ion exchange resins are exchanging ions in the water sample. So these functional groups may be acidic or may be basic. So based on these functional groups, the ion exchange resins are two types. One is the cation exchange resin and another one is the anion exchange resin. Cation exchange resin role is exchanging only cations in the water sample. Anion exchange resin role is only exchanging anions in the water sample. See here, the cation exchange resin. Resin is nothing but the polymer. So we are mentioning that resin as R. R is bonding with H plus. That means it is bonding with acidic groups. Cation exchange resins. In this, resins are bonding or connecting with the acidic groups. Now this H plus ions are replacing cations in the water sample. They are mainly styrene divinyl benzene copolymers. So these polymers are one of the copolymer. I will explain you what is mean by the copolymer in the next unit. But this copolymer is made of styrene and the divinyl benzene, which on sulfonation or carboxylation, SO3H or COOH groups are introduced to the polymer chain. That means when this benzene, when these copolymers are treating with the sulfonation or the carboxylation, here these copolymers are bonding with SO3H groups and the COOH groups. They become capable to exchange their H plus ions with the cations in the water sample. See here, it is having the H plus ions. These H plus ions are able to exchange calcium plus 2 and magnesium plus 2 in the water sample. So simply, the cation exchange resin is nothing but the resin which exchanging cations in the water sample with H plus. This cation exchange resin is made of styrene divinyl benzene copolymers. So this is the copolymer structure. These benzene rings are linking with each other. This is the three-dimensional structure, the cross-linked structure. This benzene group is having SO3H groups. This H plus ions are replacing with calcium plus 2 and magnesium plus 2. And next, anion exchange resins. Anion exchange resins are bonding with bases. Bases are nothing but OH minus ions here. They are also styrene divinyl benzene copolymers or amino formaldehyde copolymers, which contain amino or quaternary ammonium or quaternary phosphonium groups as an internal part of the resin matrix. So these are having the ammonium, a quaternary ammonium groups, a quaternary phosphonium groups. These, after treatment with dilute sodium hydroxide, become capable to exchange their OH minus ions with the anions in the water sample. So initially these are bonding with these groups, but when these are treating with the sodium hydroxide, it is able to replace OH minus ions with the other anions in the water sample. So this is the structure of anion exchange resin. See, it is bonding with the OH minus ions. These OH minus ions are replacing with the anions in the water sample. So now let us see the process of ion exchange method. It consists of the two tanks. These are the two tanks. One is the cation exchange chamber and the anion exchange chamber. Cation resins and anion resins are kept in the first and the second tank respectively. This is the cation resin and this is the anion resin. Cation resin is placed in the first chamber. Anion resin is placed in the second chamber. The hard water first is passed through the cation exchange column, which removes all the cations like calcium plus 2, magnesium plus 2 ions. Then the water is and equivalent amount of H plus ions are released from the column to water. So when the water is passing through, when the hard water is passing through cation exchange resin, what is the cation exchange resin? RH. So the H plus ions in the cation exchange resin are replacing with cations in the water sample, hardness causing cation. What are the hardness causing cations? Ca plus 2 and Mg plus 2. So the H plus ions are replacing with the Ca plus 2 and H plus ions are releasing in the water sample. So this is cation exchange resin RH plus calcium plus 2. So that means when the water sample is passing through the resin, the water sample is containing calcium plus 2 and magnesium plus 2. Calcium plus 2 and magnesium plus 2 are replacing with the H plus ions and producing R2Ca, R2Mg, releasing 2 H plus ions in the water sample. After cation exchange column, the water is passing through the anion exchange column. Now the anion exchange column is having the OH minus ions. These OH minus ions are replacing with sulfate ions, chloride ions and the nitrate ions in the water sample. See here, this is anion exchange resin ROH minus. It is treating with the water sample which are having the anions. These anions are replacing with the OH minus and releasing free OH minus in the water sample. So in cation exchange resin, H plus ions are releasing freely. In anion exchange resin, OH minus ions are releasing freely. So those H plus ions and OH minus ions are combined to produce the pure water sample. This is demineralized water or the deionized water. Now the water coming out from the ion exchange is free from cations as well as the anions. Ion free water is also known as deionized water or demineralized water. But here, this is the diagram. So initially hard water is passing through the cation exchange resin. The cation exchange resin is having the H plus ions. So these H plus ions are replacing with calcium plus 2 and magnesium plus 2. And followed by the water is passing through the anion exchange resin. Now the OH minus ions are replacing with anions in the water sample. This H plus OH minus are converts to purified water. But after some time, these resins cannot work. That means all the entire H plus ions, OH minus are replaced with cations and the anions. So there are no free cations and the anions in the resin. That means these resins are exhausting. So these exhausted resins again can be regenerated. That means again we can reuse by treating with the acid and the base respectively. That means the cation resin is treating with the acid, anion resin is treating with the base to regenerate. So that is regeneration. When capacities of cation and anion exchanges are lost to exchange H plus and OH minus ions, they are then said to be exhausted. So when the capacity of exchanging is losing, that is called the exhausting. The exhausted cation exchange resin is regenerated by treating with any acid, that is hydrochloric acid or sulfuric acid. So see here, when we are sending the water to the cation exchange resin, we will get R2Ca and R2Mg at the resin. When we are sending to the anion exchange resin, we will get RCl, R2SO4, R2CO3. That means at the entire resin, R2CO3, R2Ca, R2Mg is producing. This R2Ca again treating with the acid. Acid is nothing but H plus. When we are treating with the acid, the reverse reaction will be takes place. That means Ca plus 2 is replacing with H plus. So we will get 2RH plus Ca plus 2. 2RH plus Mg plus 2. This Ca plus 2 and Mg plus 2 can be removed by the washing method. And now this RH is nothing but cation exchange resin. Like that, cation exchange resin is regenerating. Same like that, anion exchange resin is regenerating by treating with a base. Base is nothing but OH minus. Reverse reactions are takes place here. Sulfate ions replacing with OH minus. Carbonates replacing with OH minus, Cl minus replacing with OH minus. So we will get ROH. ROH means anion exchange resin. So the columns are washed with deionized water and washing which contains calcium plus 2, magnesium plus 2, sulfate and chloride ions are passed in sink or drain. So whatever the extra byproducts are producing, these are the byproducts. These byproducts are removing by the washing method. So now let us see the advantages and disadvantages. The process can be used to soften highly acidic or basic waters. That means ion exchange method is useful for acidic water as well as a basic water. It produces water of very low hardness, so it is very good for treating water for use in high pressure boilers. Disadvantages: the equipment is costly and more expensive chemicals are needed. If water contains turbidity, then the output of the process is reduced. Turbidity means mud particles. So these mud particles are stucking in the holes because our resin is microporous structure. So when the pores are closed with the turbidity, it will not work. So then the output of the process is reduced. The turbidity must be below 10 ppm. If it is more, it has to be removed first by coagulation and the filtration process. After that only we can use this. So it is one of the lengthiest process if the water is having the turbidity. That is advantages and disadvantages. So thank you so much, ma'am. The remaining topics we will see in the next classes.